WFLA Now will begin momentarily. WFLA Now will begin momentarily. Live from WFLA Studios, top stories, breaking news, interactive coverage in the palm of your hand. This is Stream Center Live. Here's JB Biunno.
Could the Gabby Petito tragedy lead to a law in Florida that saves lives? Gabby's father joins me live for his first interview since his family's high-profile lawsuit against Brian Laundrie's parents ended in settlement, plus updates on Madeline Soto and a major breakthrough in a 20-year-old Florida cold case, all coming your way here from the Stream Center. Welcome back to the Stream Center and happy Thursday to our audience joining us wherever you are watching from. Got a lot to get to on the program, but first, I want to introduce Joe Petito. Joe is joining us from his home right here in the state of Florida. Joe, how are you today?
Doing okay, JB. Thanks for having me on. Greatly appreciate it. You know, the bill is important, so I'm glad to talk about it.
Yeah, we're going to be diving into Florida Bill 638, but I want to begin, of course, where the story left off regarding the lawsuit that your family filed against Brian Laundrie's parents and his attorney, Stephen Bertolino. There was the expectation that, of course, that would lead to a civil trial in May. It was on the court schedule for May until just this month, your family reaching a settlement with the Laundries and attorney Stephen Bertolino. How exactly did that come to be, and what are your comments other than the statement that was put out by you and your family?
I'm gonna have to stick with the statement. You know, that there was a reluctancy to sign an agreement, and I'm gonna have to keep it at that at this point in time. Would love to get into more details about it, but unfortunately at this time I can't, and I just got to keep it quiet until I guess some things kind of play out in the long run. Everyone here will be definitely hearing about it in time comes, but I just can't do it at this time.
Is it fair to say that you want to say more but can't?
I would love to say more, but I can't.
The one follow-up question that I want to ask regarding that, and then I want to get into this law that you, of course, have so passionately lobbied for, is the statement from the deposition. You had stated in the deposition that there wasn't a dollar amount that you would settle for, and that was something that, of course, made its way around social media. People who were expecting this to go to trial in May based on those comments specifically. So there was shock, surprise, if you will, amongst people that have been following Gabby's story and been following your family. What do you have to say in regards to people who were expecting a trial in May based on your comments that you wouldn't settle, and then here, of course, now we have the settlement between all parties?
Well, again, going back to the statement, you know, I guess what it said, we reluctantly signed, and we reluctantly signed because there are laws in Florida. You know, if it's a civil trial, you have to go to a mediation. You know, and if you and depending on how that mediation goes and stuff like that, there's things that can penalize you depending on how the outcome, you know, works. And so again, we reluctantly signed that. But
I think it goes without saying, but that's not the decision, of course, wasn't one made by you and your family lightly, correct?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt, and what we've been trying to do is trying to help as many people as we can moving forward. And that kind of, is why that bill is so important to us. S638, that is a lethality assessment that has overwhelming support, believe it or not, on both sides. So what a lot of people might not know, a lethality assessment, excuse me, is a series of 11 questions. So if you were to call 911 for a domestic violence situation, the officer would show up and they would do what's called a lethality assessment, a series of 11 questions to see if you are in a lethal situation or not. And if they determine based upon your answers that you are, they will put you in contact either there on the spot or immediately after with an advocate to let you know what services you have at your disposal to make sure you get out of that situation safely. And um, I think the statistics, so I have statistics for 2020, right? So 2020, there was over 200,000 calls to 911 operators in the state of Florida. And there were 200, about 220 deaths that occurred in the state of Florida that were classified as domestic violence, not including children. So um, this program has been used in the state of Florida by certain counties. Laundries is a county that uses them. Tampa is a county that wants to bring it on. Indian River is looking to take it on. Other certain police departments down further south are using this, and a lot of departments across the land use some type of lethality assessment. We would like to streamline it and make it cohesive throughout the state, because we know that this program works better. This program was developed by the Maryland Network Against Domestic Violence. They helped create that 11 questionnaire. And like I said, Alachua uses this county up in Gainesville, and they reduced, I think they've been using it almost 10 years now. And since they've used it, they've reduced their domestic violence. I mean, they're saying they've reduced their domestic violence homicide rate by upwards of close to 70%. So if you take that data, right, and 220 deaths in 2020. Obviously, Florida's got what, 3 million more people roughly. That's, I think, we're the third most popular state now, right? So if you do the math on that, and even if you do half of it, let's just say those numbers were slightly overinflated. You know what? Let's say 50%. You're talking, this bill has the potential, as an estimation, to save anywhere between 100 and 150 lives a year just in the state of Florida. And that's a significant impact, in my opinion. And then you add all the people who would help get out of their situation safely. I mean, it has the potential to save a lot of lives. And this is every year, so it's very important to us to save as many people as possible. And this is one way that we can help make that happen.
Obviously, this law is being proposed here in the state of Florida, and the domestic violence response that occurred with your daughter was in Utah. Do you believe, though, that this law, regardless of jurisdiction, could have saved your daughter's life?
We all feel so. Listen, I don't want to speak for Nikki or Jim and myself, but we've said it publicly before. We do feel that if there was a lethality assessment, it could have. We believe it could have saved her life. Yes, this is something we've said quite a few times, and there's a lot of lives that have been lost where we also feel that this probably could have saved a lot of people, and not only save a lot of people, but save people some of the abuse that they are either have received or are currently receiving when they do call 911 to help get them out of, because a lot of people don't know where to turn to. That's some of the biggest issues. Most people don't know even where to begin. A lot of times I hear, I'll ask this question, and I ask it a lot to everyone. I think I've asked it to you, JB.
Mm-hmm.
If you were in a domestic violence situation, where would you turn?
Right.
And a lot of people say we would call, the main answer I get is 911, or I don't know. And those are great answers. You call 911. That was my understanding before all of this, right? And you call 911 when the crap hits the fan. That's when you call 911. But if you don't have any visible, bruising or bleeding or something like that, who's going to believe you stuff, and where do you turn? And there's many facets of domestic violence. There's emotional abuse, financial abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse. I mean, there's so many versions of it when you really break it down. And if you're in a situation, where do you turn to? I always go with the National Domestic Violence Hotline, 1-800-799-SAFE. I mean, that's a great starting point. And so that's the answer that I give to everybody when they don't know. And something like this, if you have to call 911 and they have to interact, they're going to ask you these questions. And so some of the research that I've heard is that it's not answering the questions, it's when people see their questions back. I guess when you read things, it kind of hits home a little bit more, because you're seeing it on paper. Oh wow, I answered that way and stuff like that. So they'll be more inclined to call those services and stuff like that, which is a great thing to have. And I'd like to thank Senator Grahl and her team about bringing S638 in, because it actually passed unanimously in the Senate yesterday. They invited me up for that, and that was amazing to see, amazing to be a part of. So that was really cool. But I'd like to get into to why I'm kind of here. If you kind of want to go down that route, I don't know.
Of course. This is something that, look, I've had conversations with you off stream, and this is something that you have advocated for, and this is also hits close to home, quite literally, for you, because you now call the Sunshine State home. Florida is your home state. So while you've advocated for laws to be passed in multiple states and doing it a lot through the foundation, I know that this one in particular means a lot to you.
It does. It does. This is my home state now. I love the state. I lived in New York previously. I do. I was done with the snow. Like, other than my kids being born and getting married, one of the coolest days I've ever had was selling my snowblower. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Like,
Yeah.
it really was. No. But yeah, advocating for this is something that's important, because we do feel it would make a significant difference on helping other people. And yeah, so it passed unanimously in the Senate, which was great. And it just got overwhelming support on both sides. So
Yeah, I mean,
so everyone
bipartisan
understands.
support, right? I mean, you've got Florida Democrats, Florida Republicans behind this. So what the holdup is in the House, correct?
Yeah, so yeah. So when I say it's bipartisanship, there were two bills that were introduced. One was a Democratic bill, and one was a Republican bill. Now, listen, I'm in Florida. I'm not going to pretend I know everything about politics. I mean, I might know 2 or 3% based on what we have done, previously. But Florida is a Republican state, so maybe that's why Senator Grahl, who's been amazing, and Senator Book was the one who wrote the bill before, and she is also absolutely amazing. So I thank the both of them for really pushing it out there. But Senator Grahl's bill went all the way through to the Senate, to the floor, and was voted on and passed unanimously, 40-0. And in the House, it passed all the committees. I believe it even passed the Judiciary Committee, and it's kind of just sitting there at the moment. And this is why it's important that I came on, is that bill's sitting in the House right now, and we want it to hit the House floor for that vote so it can go to the governor's desk. And it's my understanding that the Speaker of the House is the one who could help put that on the calendar for that vote. Now, we only have 7 days to do it, because the session ends at the end of next week. So by Friday of next week, if it doesn't hit the calendar and hits the floor and it's voted on, we'll have to start that process over again. And listen, we are more than willing to advocate it for it next year. Absolutely, we would, but that'd be what, like we said, 100 to 150 lives lost in the state of Florida needlessly, because here it is right now. So I would encourage people to look up the Speaker of the House. I'm sure he's a very nice man. His name is Paul Renner. Very nice man. I'm sure he is. I'm sure he is very understanding of why this bill is going on and how it works and whatnot. So I would hope that he would assist in putting it on that calendar. I would also encourage everyone to reach out to them. I'm sure he has a Twitter handle and an email. You can do Speaker Paul Renner, Florida. I'm sure his information will pop up and you can reach out to him. But be nice. Be nice about it. We're going to be respectful here. We're going to do the right thing. We're not going to be mean and try and threaten anybody. We're going to do it the right and proper way. So
right. It's not as if that he's voiced opposition for it. You're just trying to get on his radar, basically.
I would like to get on his radar to have this bill put on the calendar and done the right way. If it's stuck for some reason, let's put it on the House floor. so we can let the House speak for themselves. Because the way they do it, it's not just, oh, we have this bill, here it is, let's, where's your vote? They have debates on it, right then and there on the floor. So let's, before they go to that vote. So if there's opposition, let's hear it. The reason why 638 is important to us is it's a standalone bill, and there's nothing added to it that you might not agree with. Well, you can say, I wanted to vote for it, but this is why I didn't on this other side. It's a standalone bill. And that's how we like it, because then there's no hiding anything. There's no 700 pages of stuff.
Right.
Like, here it is. This bill is quite simple.
What would it mean to you if the bill was passed in Gabby's name and it became known as the moniker for the bill would be the Gabby Petito law? What would that mean to you and your family?
As appreciative as I would be, for it, it's not important to us. To be honest with you, it's not. At least in my opinion, I'm not going to speak for Tara, Nikki, or Jim, or Rick, or anyone else. I feel that Gabby's been memorialized pretty good, and it's just, we have this really driving factor of trying to help as many people as possible. Like, really, that's what we're trying to do. And this would actually do that. I have plans that once this bill passes here, it'll go to, I want to start it in another state. I will actually want to go to my previous state in New York, and I've spoken with their team, and at least put it on their radar, because it's important. If we can get it in enough states, maybe we can have it across the land at some point. That would be amazing. But so a little bit of an update too on it, because I just got this. JB, you and I were talking. I was in the car 10 minutes ago. Yeah, I was coming back from a client's house. So while I was on that phone call, while I was driving back, I found that Senator Burton has, been gracious enough to take the verbiage of S638 and move it with a bill. I believe it's 1224. And to make sure that it'll assist. This is so important, and everyone understands how important and significant this would be. So she has been gracious enough to put the verbiage on one of her amazing. But I would like, listen, I'm going to ask everyone that's watching this, if you can go to your Twitter, you can go to your TikToks or Facebook or Instagrams or even emails, whatever is easiest for you and what you have in front of you. Call your elected officials and say, hey, listen, the lethality assessment is something that's important. It's going to save a lot of lives, and we want to make it here. So get it on the calendar, or listen, we have overwhelming support for Senator Burton's bill because it has that verbiage in it. And yeah, either way, to us, passing that verbiage of making sure that everyone will have a lethality assessment when they call 911 is more important than anything that you would call the bill.
I promised that I would get you out at a reasonable time, so I just have two final questions. Joe, is this moment in time a turning of the page for you and your family? Obviously, you have the settlement from earlier this month. We know that there is still the active lawsuit in Moab, and there hasn't been really much of a public update as far as what's been going on there. But we've spoken in the past. You and your family have been so proactive in trying to get laws passed, trying to do good through the Gabby Petito Foundation. Do you feel as if now that there is a weight off your shoulders, knowing that the civil lawsuit is behind you, and now that you can focus exclusively on trying to do good and help, as you put it in your words, save lives? Is that how you and your family view it?
No, I think I've said it before, and I don't think there's a weight off my shoulders. It's not a turning of the page, to be honest with you. This is a page that can't be turned. You know what I mean? So this is trying to repay all the people that helped me at my worst situation possible. I owe everybody that's watching and everybody that's not watching. It's for them, and the way they pushed Gabby's story out there, that we were able to bring her home, and not a lot of people get that. You take a Daniel Robinson or Natalie Holloway or the countless others that are missing that don't come home or aren't found. Billy Smolinski, that we help find the missing act. They still haven't been found, And well, it really is. It breaks my heart. And we owe a lot of people. And I'm going to try and help as many people as I can for as long as I can to help repay that debt that I don't think I'll ever be able to repay. But I mean, that's the way I feel. Again, I'm not going to speak for Nikki, Tara, or Jim, but that's how I feel, and I'm going to keep going until I can't anymore.
And then I really wanted to ask you this one question in regards to the next story that we're going to be covering here on stream. And
I think you would, yeah, if you shaved your head, I think you would look fine. Yeah, that question, that's a no-brainer. Yeah,
you're always, every time we're talking, you're always cracking jokes. Joe Petito, one of a kind, everybody, as far as what he has done in the aftermath of such tragedy. But I really do. I want to ask because you have experienced something in your life that you wish that you had never experienced, and you wouldn't wish upon anybody with what happened to Gabby. But there's a family right now in Central Florida, the Soto family, in regards to Madeline Soto. That is a missing 13-year-old girl, a person of interest, taken into custody last night. And there is this crippling feeling that hits a parent or set of parents when a child is missing. What, not to take you back to a very painful chapter in your life, but can you describe for people as far as what is going on right now for the Soto family and how that is playing out in Orange County? What your take on it is?
It's chaos. It's chaotic because you're pulled in several directions. Learning to navigate the media, learning to having to be patient and wait, and like you said, there was someone that was brought in, so you might be getting answers, you might not. So the frustration. All I can say to them is be there for one another. See, that's something that not a lot of people do have that. And I was very fortunate with, my wife, family, Nikki, Jim, and having that support system and leaning on them in times of hurt is that's the only way you'll get out, to be honest with you, and because it could eat you alive. So reach out, talk to somebody. JB, if you have their contact, give them my contact information. By all means, they can call me. I can talk to them. I'll do whatever I can to assist. You know that I will. So feel free to give them my information as well. And yeah, I wish nothing but the best for them, and I hope they get the answers, and I hope she's found safe and brought home as fast as possible.
And we'll be talking more about that story coming up. Joe, I really appreciate your time.
JB, I got a question for you.
Yeah. Oh, you gonna ask me a question?
Yeah, I want to ask you a question. How much product do you put in there? Like, I'm just wondering, like who has more product? Just wondering. You or your wife? I'm just wondering. Is it like even? Do you steal her product? I get it, because I would probably try and steal Tara's too if I had some.
Do you have like a large shovel at home? Because that's what it would take to actually heave in the amount of product that I put in my hair. I'll tell you what, Joe, if I ever were to shave my head, do you know anybody that maybe could offer me a job or something? Because I think I'd be out of work in about 5 seconds flat.
No, I don't think you'd be out of work. I think WFLA loved you too much. But I tell you what would be interesting, if we could get a poll online to see if we could get like a donation type of thing to where we could donate it to, say, a cancer foundation. We'll do like this large fund, see if we can get JB to shave his head. I'd be interested to see how far it can go.
You're putting me in a really precarious spot, because I don't know where to take this now. But you know what?
I'm just messing with you, man. I really am. I do appreciate you having me on, but I thank you very much. And if there's, like I said, please give them my contact information, because I will definitely, if they want to reach out, I will make sure that I'm available at any point in time of the day or night. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I have this. I have a comment from Michelle. JB without hair? ? Someone call his wife. That's some of the comments coming in, because that would be that would be chaos, to use a word that you used earlier. Absolute pure chaos. Joe, I really appreciate it. We're going to be tracking Bill 638, and I know this is something that you are personally
Also, just also track S 1224 from Senator Burton. All right, so track both of them because they both have that verbiage. And please, again, if anyone's able to reach out to Senator Grohl and Senator Book as well, so the three of them, Senator Burton, and say thank you for trying to help as many people as possible, because without them, we'd be sitting at square one again. So thank you to them, and thank you to the speaker. Hopefully he can get it on the calendar. If not, he can assist with getting 1224, pushed through to have that floor vote and really make a significant difference when it comes to domestic violence.
Joe, I appreciate your time as always, and you'll be able to, of course, see parts of this interview tonight on WFLA News Channel 8. Joe, as you know what, I perhaps there is a scenario where the next time that we see you on our live stream is next to Governor DeSantis as this bill is getting signed, if it can pass through the next chamber of the Florida legislature. Best of luck to you as you continue to pursue that law getting passed.
Well, thank you very much for that. And I hope the next time that we speak, I'm over on your side. I'll be sitting next to you.
Yeah. You're always invited into the Stream Center, Joe. That would be great.
All right, JB. I'll talk to everyone. Thank you very much for everyone that's watching.
Appreciate your time, Joe, and we'll talk soon. Take care.
You got it.
All right. Back here on stream, folks. That's Joe Petito. Really always enjoy the opportunity to speak with him. And clearly, this is something that he has been advocating for quite some time across multiple states. Lethalities. Read the bill. I mean, honestly, go and check out the bills themselves. Again, 1224 and 638. The more educated that you are, and then Joe, of course, putting out the word, trying to get on House Speaker Renner's radar. Perhaps that there's some grassroots effort. If you believe, of course, in the bill, you can advocate for it after hearing Joe so passionately speak about it. We're going to be taking a quick break and then coming back and talking about Madeline Soto. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
WFLA Now will begin momentarily. WFLA Now will begin momentarily. Live from WFLA Studios, top stories, breaking news, interactive coverage in the palm of your hand. This is Stream Center Live. Here's JB Biunno.
Fears mounting in Central Florida as deputies continue their frantic search for missing 13-year-old Madeline Soto. And just last night, a person of interest taken into custody. We'll show you that video coming up here from the Stream Center. Welcome into the Stream Center, folks. You just heard the interview with Joe Petito, and now, of course, we are talking about Madeline Soto. You heard Joe speak a little bit about what it is like for a family with such a frightening scenario in front of them. Madeline has not been seen since she was reported missing on Monday, being dropped off a few blocks away from school, but she never made it to school. A Florida missing child alert was issued soon thereafter from FDLE, that's the Florida Department of Law Enforcement. They say that she was last seen at Hunters Park Lane and Town Loop Boulevard in Orlando. So for, again, point of reference, people don't know where Orange County is. That's Orlando. It's right in the heart of Central Florida. It was around 8:30 a.m. on Monday when she was last seen. She was wearing black shorts, a green sweatshirt, and white Crocs. Businesses have been putting up signs. WESH in Orlando, our NBC sister station, has been all over this story. And it really entered a new chapter last night with the arrest of that man right there. Orange County deputies saying that Madeline's mother's boyfriend, Stephen Stearns, arrested by Kissimmee police on Wednesday evening, and he's facing charges of sexual battery and possession of child sexual abuse material. Orange County Sheriff's Office saying that over the course of their investigation, disturbing images were found on Stearns' phone. Investigators also discovered that he had made attempts to delete evidence. That is, again, according to deputies. They are leading the investigation into the sexual battery case since the alleged crimes took place at the family's home in Kissimmee. Quote from Sheriff John Mina. Stephen Stearns had an opportunity tonight to come clean with detectives and help lead them to information about Maddie's disappearance. Her loved ones deserved answers, and OCSO and the Kissimmee Police Department will not stop until we find Maddie. They believe, investigators believe, that that man has information regarding Soto's disappearance. However, he is refusing to answer any questions, and instead he is requesting, or has requested, an attorney. Do not know yet if he is represented. This has been a frantic search. WESH's helicopter was up yesterday. People looking for any signs of Madeline, especially right there at that intersection in Orlando. Again, that intersection being Town Loop Boulevard and Hunters Park Lane. And so, again, just trying to put your mind in the perspective of the Soto family, not having your daughter, would imagine it's absolutely horrifying. People saying that they will not stop until she is found. They have searched from the air, searched from the ground. They've had bloodhounds out and around the area. People have been volunteering. 13 years old. So a person of interest is in custody, but while they believe that they have the person who has information on Soto's disappearance, they cannot yet charge him specifically with Soto's disappearance. The hope is that Madeline is somehow found alive, but every day that passes by, that fear in the back of people's minds, and I'm sure in the minds of deputies too, that fear just continues to grow. And you just hope that there isn't some tragic outcome. We'll go now to the comment section to answer any of your questions that you guys have. And we'll of course, focus on questions that are coming into heyjb.live, our new interactivity tool, or you can use hashtag heyjb on YouTube Live. Michelle, they did not divulge evidence that he was trying to delete, if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to watch the presser again to see if they specified, but that he had made attempts to conceal evidence by deleting evidence off of his phone. Digital forensics these days is so unbelievably important. Your phone contains everything, your whole life. People who they bank on their phones, they make, obviously, they chat across multiple platforms. It's your primary means of communication. It's your primary means for just about everything. And so exactly what kind of access they have to Stearns' phone, we don't really know, but reading some other comments as well. Jen, yeah, I do see that comment. I do think that while that comment you could argue is absolutely true, and I understand that is your opinion, it just might be insensitive to the family. So I'm going to choose just not to. I see your comment. It's got hashtag HJB, but I just think that given where we are with the story and the hope that Madeline is found safe and sound, and yeah, people asking about Polk County, where Grady Judd is. People were talking about Grady Judd in the comment section. That county is to the west of Orange County. So Orange County is Orlando. Then you have Polk County, which is kind of in the middle on I-4, sandwiched between Tampa, of course, and Orlando. And then you have Tampa Bay on the Gulf Coast side, the west side of the Florida Peninsula. I want to bring up some other notes that I have on this story. Sorry, we're transitioning from the interview with Joe Petito and moving now to this story, so my notes aren't all in front of me. So let me just bring up my notes. I think this is important. 5'1", blonde hair, blue eyes, weighing 110 pounds, reportedly last seen wearing the green jacket, black shorts, white Crocs. 13 years old, missing since February 26th of 2024. So right. Okay. So I haven't emphasized this yet, but let's point this out because somebody just asked this, and I thought I had stated it, but I probably didn't. So April's asking, okay, are they sure she was dropped off and by who? And according to the Orange County Sheriff, Stephen Stearns, I want to make sure that I point out that I'm not entirely sure if it's with that spelling, if that's the correct pronunciation. 37 years old. He had been the one to drop her off at that intersection in the area of Hunters Creek Middle School. But she never made it to school. So they say that she was dropped off by Stearns, but that she didn't make it to school. So where exactly was the point in which she disappeared? That to me is unclear when we put together the timeline of this story. Stearns is considered a prime suspect in Soto's disappearance, according to deputies. Yeah, there is no specification on the evidence that he allegedly attempted to delete, according to the sheriff's office. But you know what? It just blows my mind because we were just talking about this with Audrey Cunningham. We were just what was Audrey's age? Audrey Cunningham being dropped off, I believe, to school, was it not? And then it was a trusted individual who was living on the property that was arrested for the crime. So it's Audrey Cunningham. It's the parallels there are uncanny. So there's a lot more to come in this story. I wanted to take the opportunity to share this out because this is a story that this is the number one story in Central Florida right now, as far as I'm concerned, because we don't know what happened to Madeline. We still don't have answers. We have the face of perhaps the person responsible, according to deputies. They say that this person has information. He is the level of cooperation that you would hope for isn't there. That, of course, creates alarm. But the fact that she is still missing 4 days later with no signs of her disappearance, that, of course, leads to a lot of questions, a lot of concerns. We have to move on to our third and final story, which is a Florida cold case that has been solved. We'll be right back here on Stream Center Live.
WFLA Now will begin momentarily. WFLA Now will begin momentarily.
We're going to skip the open and get right to it here from the Stream Center. That is Volusia County Sheriff Mike Chipwood, who wrapped up a wrapped up a press conference a short time ago, and we are now going to be going into that press conference for a cold case from 20 years ago, a teenager who vanished. In 2004, the sheriff's office saying that the remains are found. I've been given a heads up in the newsroom that the story that you are about to hear is just absolutely surreal. So given that this is on a bit of a delay, what I can do is I can fast forward a little bit to the start of the press conference, because this is our recording of it, and he's waiting for the all clear from the media. So we can move ahead. There you can see we have a suspect, or what appears to be a mugshot there in front of the podium. Let's skip ahead to the moment in time when the presser actually begins, and that is this moment right here. I understand that the sheriff is also calling up several different people. So again, this is a press conference on a bit of a delay, but let's listen in.
You guys just say when. Am I using? Is that how we're getting attached? Okay. We got to get a little bit more of a. You're good. You are good. This thing's going to screw me up. Everybody ready? Yes, sir. Okay. I want to thank everybody for coming out today. We're going to talk about a cold case of a missing young girl, Autumn Lane McClure, who was reported missing in May of 2004. But before we get started, there's a lot of people that I need to thank who helped in this. Captain Paul Kammerer in the back there, and all of the investigative service unit. Sergeant Seth Amron, who is our major case supervisor. Detective Sean McGuire, who was the assigned detective to this case. Josh Mott in our forensics unit. Dr. Sutton, you see on here, with the University of Florida Maple Center for Forensic Medicine. She is absolutely amazing, and when you listen to her talk, you're going to see what an incredible person she is. Our road and bridge folks who helped us with the excavation, the medical examiner's office that was out there, and a company called Ameritech. They had to help us move the new homeowner's home and get into where we had to get into, and I really, really want to thank them for that, and of course the property owners. Folks that bought the property in 2021, put in a beautiful driveway, put in a beautiful modular home, and then they had Detective McGuire knocking on the door saying, hey, we got a search warrant and we're going to be tearing your stuff up. So he did a really great job coordinating to keep the property owner whole as possible. So here's how this all begins. In May of 2024, Autumn's grandmother calls the sheriff's office to report her missing. We contact her boyfriend, a Michael Camelli, who tells us that he dropped her off at the Volusia Mall and he hasn't seen her since. So detectives start doing everything they need to do. They put the missing persons flyer out there. They're doing neighborhood interviews. They're doing everything that we do when there is a missing person. The grandmother, Sherry McClure, calls us a couple days later and says, hey, Autumn has called me from a 321 area code, and I've gotten some letters from her that are postmarked Melbourne, Florida. So that's the follow-up that we get. A little while later, in 2004 or so, detectives get some information that Autumn was staying at a house, or at a trailer, 1320 Hand Avenue, Lot 32 in Ormond Beach, with a Brian Donnelly, who is wonderful arrest photos up there, and a Jessica Freeman. So detectives go out and they interview them, and they basically tell detectives that, well, Autumn, who has never run away before, this is the first time she runs away from her family, he really didn't get along with her grandmother, and I work with her at Winn-Dixie, and we let her stay at the house for a couple of days, but we don't know anything else. So everything goes cold. You look from 2005 to 2016. We obtained DNA from family members that we put in the CODIS system. She's entered into the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. So everything that we're supposed to do, it's in there. So God forbid, if a body turns up, we're able to try to identify her. In 2016, detectives who are still working this case, obviously 12 years later, they recontact her boyfriend, Michael Camelli, and he admits that he lied to us in 2004. That, in fact, he didn't drop Autumn off at the Volusia Mall. He dropped her off at the Seabreeze Bridge, where she got into a car with Jessica Freeman. In 2018, 2 years later, detectives are successful in tracking down Jessica Freeman, who now lives in Nevada. And she says, I have no idea what you're talking about. I have no information than what I told you before. In 2021, Detective McGuire gets a phone call from a Chris Miller. Chris Miller is related in certain ways through friendship and marriage to Brian Donnelly and Jessica Freeman. And he basically tells the detective, I got to get this off my chest. And basically what I need to tell you is there is a teenage girl who's missing and is dead, is buried in Volusia County, and Brian Donnelly and or Jessica Freeman had to have something to do with this. The detective is able to have Mr. Miller make a controlled call to Jessica Freeman, where she basically says in that controlled call that she saw Brian Donnelly kill Autumn, and then he told a myriad of stories that he chopped her up, he set her on fire, he buried her off of Flomish Avenue. He just tells her a whole bunch of different things. So then we go to 2022, where our suspect in this case dies. Karma is a bitch. He dies on May 26, 2022, almost 18 years to the day that we believe Autumn was killed. So now detectives go to re-interview Jessica Freeman because she now has moved from Nevada back to Florida in Crescent City, I believe. But she won't talk to us without immunity. So the detectives are able to go to state attorney's office, tell them what we have. State attorney's office grants her immunity to talk to us. So she gives a statement to us that she basically worked with Autumn in the Winn-Dixie, and they allowed her to stay with her and Brian on this 1320 Hand Avenue, lot number 32. She tells us that Autumn couldn't live with her grandmother anymore. She said her grandmother was mean. They were involved in a sexual relationship with Autumn. Now, keep in mind, Brian was 31 at the time. Autumn was 16. She also goes on to tell us that she came home one afternoon and saw Brian choking Autumn in the bathroom. When, by the time she intervened, she saw that Autumn was lifeless, and she left the house. She left the trailer. 2 weeks later, when she comes home, she sees there's plywood on the bedroom floor and asks what happened to Autumn and Autumn's stuff. And his response to her is, shut up or the same thing will happen to you. She's dead. If you don't want that to happen to you, shut up and mind your business. So he tells her multiple stories through the years of how he cut Autumn up and buried her and spread her parts over different parts. She also stated that in late 2021 or early 2022, Brian paid a visit to 1320 Hand and saw the new manufactured home going in there and saw the new driveway going in and was very relieved at the construction that was taking place there. Jessica at the time did not tell us the exact location. She didn't know the exact location. So in late 2023, I guess she realizes, hey, this immunity stuff really works. She contacts Detective McGuire and says she's buried underneath where that trailer was. That's where you'll find her. So the detectives get together, they get warrants, a search warrant obtained, and now we have to work with the homeowner because we have a homeowner who now put this brand new modular home in, did all this work, and now we had to figure out a way to work with him and make him whole. So we get the warrant signed on the 21st of the month. On the 26th of the month, we execute the search warrant, which was Monday. On Tuesday, we start with the help of Meritech and Road and Bridge, move the folks' modular home out, tear up all of the concrete, and we begin excavation. And at this point, I will let Dr. Sutton jump in from there and thank her again for everything that she did, because she can tell you what had occurred since then.
All right, great. Thank you, Sheriff Chitwood. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Laundries Sutton with the University of Florida Maples Center for Forensic Medicine. And as a Volusia County native myself, I'm always appreciative of the opportunity to come back to the area and work with the Volusia Sheriff's Office on cases. So thank you to Sheriff Chitwood for the request to assist on this case and to work alongside your phenomenal deputies and investigators. This case in particular, we have been discussing and working on the logistics of searching the scene and possibly conducting an excavation at the site for about a year. But of course, having those structures and the concrete on that site really posed quite a unique challenge for the normal types of search techniques that we would ordinarily implement. One of the techniques that we did use on scene to identify areas of interest for excavation is a tool called ground penetrating radar. And that gives us indications, we call those anomalies, of any areas beneath the soil surface that might be of a different density than the surrounding soil. The challenge in many cases is that it doesn't always clearly differentiate what those anomalies specifically are. They can really be anything that's different. So that could be tree roots, utility lines, items of evidence, or even human remains. So we used this tool on scene and we located a few specific areas of interest in our search yesterday. From there, we began the excavation process in those targeted areas, and we were very fortunate to be able to locate and recover a set of human remains. Ultimately, this case is a testament to the power of effective collaboration within a medical legal death investigation. Our successful outcome yesterday was the direct result of many different forensic disciplines working together for a common cause. We had the solid investigative work in collecting, verifying, corroborating information from an informant. We had proper resource allocation, which included access to that heavy equipment used on scene, which aided the excavation process itself. We had lots of personnel support on scene, which was tremendously helpful. Bringing in and working with an external forensic team like ours from the Maple Center for Forensic Medicine, which also helps with the access to that specialized equipment and technology like the ground penetrating radar. And then, of course, support from the Sheriff's Office leadership, which all allowed us to work this case in the very best way possible. Every case that we work presents its own unique challenges, but this was one of the more challenging ones due to the need to relocate entire structures and remove concrete before we could even begin to effectively search and excavate any areas of interest. So overall, this is really an extremely intense and resource-heavy operation. But all of the factors came together to help us achieve our successful outcome, which is locating and recovering these remains. More often than not, cold case investigations and searches like this lead to dead ends. But yesterday was a different story. I attribute our ability to locate and recover these remains not only to effective collaboration, but more importantly, to the unwavering persistence of everyone involved. Because of that, we were able to recover these remains and thereby start the process of bringing justice to the victim and offering closure for her families and her loved ones. Cases like this, they're why we do what we do, and I'm extremely grateful to have been able to assist in this one.
Doctor, don't go anywhere. Gentlemen, you guys want to come up here? We were able to recover 99.9% of Autumn's remains. They're with the state. They're with the ME now, pending positive identification, which we should get here very shortly, and we'll see. If they have a way of determining the cause of death, which is going to be kind of difficult. So, do you guys have any questions? Because these are the folks who have put all this time in. Detective McGuire was one of the first police reports that were done on this case. He actually was the second report that was done back in 2004. So this is something he started off with as a deputy, and now as a detective in our major case squad became the assigned investigator that basically led to the recovery of Autumn.
Were Jessica and Brian were they in a relationship?
Yes.
So they were boyfriend and girlfriend living together, and she was having sex with them?
Yes.
How's the family reacted, getting some closure now?
These guys talked to Autumn's twin brother, so when you just get up here and.
You know, obviously they're relieved, but he wasn't shocked. I mean, there's been rumors, but they're happy that she's been found.
I think one of the things that was this guy. I mean, really, he's a piece of shit. Is really what he was, and apparently he had the ability to instill fear in everybody, and it took that Chris Miller to finally wake up and say, enough's enough. I can't live with my conscience as a father, knowing that I heard him tell people what he did, and that's what started the ball rolling on that thing. But the fact that, he would go back and visit the site, put Jessica Freeman, from what she tells us, in fear that he would kill her as easily as he killed Autumn, here's where we are now. The sad part is he'll never face, in this world, for the evil that he perpetrated. But sure enough, I'm hoping to God when he took his last breath on May 26th of 2022, that maybe he had a vision of where the hell he was headed.
Did Jessica ever tell you why he did it?
Good.
So what she told us was Autumn she wanted to go back home, and so he was afraid that she went home, told what happened, that he would face legal troubles.
Have you guys ever had any clues of what happened with the grandmother? Because you mentioned that she was having some type of issues with her grandmother, and that's why she was supposedly at that place. If you ever knew anything about that?
No, I never spoke with the grandmother, and I haven't even since then. I've been speaking with her twin brother.
I spoke to one of Autumn's cousins worked for me when I was a Daytona Beach police chief, and she called me this morning, and she just said, like anything else, it's a grandparent raising a teenager. It was just oil and water. They weren't going to mix.
Sure. Can you talk about the persistence, not only in this case, but maybe others you might be working on, about never giving up, no matter how long these things go on?
Yeah, and we talked about this. Seth was just talking about this the other day. Technology is emerging so quickly for us, whether it's DNA, no matter what it is, and there really never is a quote-unquote cold case. The men and women that are assigned to our major case unit and to all of our investigative units, that's what they understand. You may work a case for 20 years, and then you're going to retire. Well, you're going to hand that off to the next group of detectives that's going to take that and use technology to our advantage. And, to watch the doctor yesterday, I'm going to do this 36 years. I'd like to say I couldn't be surprised by anything or intrigued. I couldn't leave there. Just watching how she was teaching all of our new forensics examiners what to look for, how to dig. It was fascinating to watch that. And, obviously to be able to come to the family and say, look, here, at least she can be buried with dignity now. Not folded up and shoved in some crawl space.
Is it totally impossible to determine the cause of death?
Seth?
It's difficult when you have a skeleton without any soft tissues to go off of. They're going to do the best they can with the laboratory analysis and things of that nature, but given the time frame, it's really hard to say at this point.
For us, the two witnesses, Chris Miller and Jessica Freeman, they're the ones that really get us where we need to go. When they come up, and then when she tells us specifically where she's buried, that's enough to get the warrant. That's enough to start working with the doctor. They were working the whole time with the topography of the land. If we have to get under there, how are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? It wasn't just something that popped up. This has been going on for quite a while, since like 2022, I would say 2021, late 2021, to try to get there and do what we needed to do.
I know she came up and spoke and she's got immunity and it's helped the case, but do you suspect her being involved at all?
We don't suspect that at all, given the consistencies of her statement. Sure, they evolved over time, but with that emerging comfortability she had as time progressed, knowing that Brian was no longer alive, she obtained immunity from the state attorney's office. She started, getting, her conscience was getting the best of her, so all these things kind of lining up. We have no reason to believe that anything she told us to this point is not true. In fact, more credibility goes to her statement because of what we found yesterday.
He died during a medical procedure on May 26th of 2022, which almost 18 years to the day. It's definitely in a couple of days window that we believe that Autumn was killed.
Early on in your narrative, you were talking about, I think his grandmother received a phone call from
Yeah, a couple when.
Was she ever there? Was that a red herring? Or?
I really don't know if she ever went there. I know that she called her from phone numbers in the Melbourne area code, and they had also sent letters from Palm Bay. Whether Autumn went there or not, or this was part of their hoax to hide where she was at, we don't know.
Thank you guys very much. Great job, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir.
Back here with you in the Stream Center. Absolutely wild story. And folks, we do have to run. We've got, of course, Jeff's Climate Classroom coming up next here on WFLA.com. For those of you who want to watch that, you can find it on the WFLA Facebook page or on WFLA.com or the WFLA app. Also on the Max Fender Rate app as well. Climate Classroom, of course, with our climate specialist and chief meteorologist, Jeff Baradelli here at WFLA News Channel 8. I really appreciate your time. And, of course, if you want to read more about this story, we are posting new details as they come in to WFLA.com. There's the Volusia County Sheriff, Mike Chitwood, speaking with fellow detectives, talking about, again, a cold case from 20 years ago leading to a major breakthrough. All the details on WFLA.com. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you next time here from the Stream Center.